Pastry expresses his joy at Squall's safety. Squall, in turn, acknowledges their timely rescue during his moment of need and struggles to find words to convey his gratitude. In another place, Luderout hears of these events and can hardly believe that Huberek also has House Mordaunt on his side. A soldier considers the implications of Mordaunt siding with Huberek, wondering if Duke Cattlesec might send reinforcements. This leads him to ponder whether it's wise to maintain their current position or if they should consider withdrawing their forces. Luderout, though frustrated by this development, finds himself without many alternatives. Subsequently, at Huberic Domain, the Margrave is relieved to see that Squall is unharmed and apologizes for putting him in danger due to his lack of foresight. He expresses his gratitude to Pastry and Casserole for rescuing Squall, and they commend Squall for his remarkable performance on the battlefield. Squall, however, humbly believes he doesn't deserve such praise. Huberek notices Squall's exhaustion and advises him to get some rest. Petra arrives, relieved to see Squall unharmed. Squall reassures her, mentioning only minor injuries, and hints that they'll talk later before taking his leave, seeking solitude for the time being. Huberek can't help but worry about Squall, and Casserole speculates that a harrowing first deployment could weigh heavily on someone, potentially causing trauma. Petra, observing Squall's unusual demeanor, wonders if there's any way she can provide comfort. Casserole recalls how Pastry had comforted Mark after a mistake during their battle with bandits and suggests that perhaps Pastry can offer similar solace to Squall, given their closeness in age. Petra joins the conversation and asks Pastry to help cheer up Squall, expressing her desire to see him smile again. This request triggers a memory in Pastry of his earlier conversation with Licorice, who mentioned that sweets have the power to make people smile. Pastry, inspired by this idea, decides to make a dessert to bring a smile to Squall's face. He asks Casserole to gather the necessary ingredients and equipment. Casserole is curious about the type of dessert Pastry plans to make but leaves it in Pastry's capable hands. Huberek offers to provide Pastry with whatever he needs for the dessert. The scene shifts to Pastry in the kitchen, where he reflects on Squall's isolation and his desire to bring joy to him. He begins crafting a special dessert. Meanwhile, Huberek initiates a party to celebrate their victory, but Pastry remains in the kitchen, focused on his task. Casserole notices Squall's despondent mood. Squall overhears others discussing the campaign and how he was the only one to receive recognition. They express their desire to make a name for themselves but lament the campaign's abrupt end. Casserole approaches Squall and advises him not to pay too much attention to their comments. Squall acknowledges the truth in their words, admitting that his position is due to his family lineage. He expresses his uncertainty about facing his grandfather after what he considers a failed first campaign. Huberek shares that he faced struggles in his own initial campaign. Squall reveals his struggle to shake off the image of others dying because of him. At this moment, Pastry arrives, congratulating Huberek on the victory and announcing that he borrowed the kitchen briefly to create a special dessert. The delightful aroma of the dessert fills the entire hall, intriguing Squall. He wonders if it's some kind of baked treat, unlike anything he has seen before. Pastry offers Squall a piece to taste, and Squall is curious about the reddish-brown topping and the name of this intriguing treat. Pastry proudly announces that the dessert is a tart tatin, elaborating that it's a baked delicacy crafted from bonkers. He instructs Niccolo to bring more portions of the tart tatin for everyone to enjoy. Squall, enticed by the dessert's delightful scent, feels his appetite awaken. As Squall takes his first bite, he's astounded by the extraordinary flavor and can hardly believe that something so delicious can be created from bonkers. Pastry explains that the key to the dessert's complexity lies in the application of heat, which intensifies the tartness and concentrates the sweetness. Squall expresses his amazement at the delectable dessert and inquires about its name, tart tatin. Pastry shares the story behind it, revealing that it was invented by the master tart makers, the Tatin sisters. Traditionally, tarts involve placing fruit on top of a crust and baking it. However, one day, the sisters accidentally forgot to put the crust into the mold and ended up baking just the fruit. Faced with no other option, they placed a crust on top of the partially baked fruit and allowed it to finish baking. The result was the tart tatin. Pastry emphasizes that tart tatin emerged from a failed attempt at making tarts, but it has since become a delightful dessert. He points out that if the Tatin sisters had simply discarded the fruit and started over, they would have missed out on the wonderful creation of tart tatin. He underscores the value of persistence and not letting failure deter one from enjoying the sweetness of success. Pastry shares a personal insight with the group. He reveals that whenever he makes mistakes while crafting sweets, he thinks about tart tatin and how failure is not a wasted effort. He emphasizes the importance of looking ahead and persevering, even in the face of failure. Squall recalls his grandfather's strict stance on failure, especially for someone bearing the Cattlesec name. He expresses that his failures weigh differently on him. Petra interjects, asserting that Squall didn't fail. He reminds him of the promise he made to return safely, which he fulfilled. Squall, however, feels the weight of responsibility for the sacrifices made by those under his leadership, causing him deep remorse. Pastry commends Squall, stating that this is how a leader should feel. Petra expresses her pride in Squall for prioritizing his men over personal victory, emphasizing that having him safe and sound is her greatest happiness. Squall thanks Petra for her understanding and support, affirming his commitment to grow stronger and ensure that his failures are not in vain. Squall then asks for another serving of the tart and invites Petra to join him in the gardens to enjoy it together. Hubrick notices that Squall's spirits seem to have improved, while Casserole acknowledges that overcoming the trauma of a first campaign is a personal journey for all of them. Hubrick expresses gratitude to Pastry for helping Squall through this challenging moment and inquires if there's anything Pastry desires or needs. Pastry contemplates what he should request and decides there's something he desires. The scene shifts to Pastry's arrival in the Thief of Mordelen, where Mark and Lumi are puzzled by the items he carries. Pastry explains that these are gifts expressing the Margrave's gratitude. He presents Licorice with a letter from her father. Pastry then informs Sheets that Casserole stayed behind at the Margrave's domain to handle negotiations for their benefit. He reveals that his father was quite agitated and that the issue originated when Baron Lunsford purchased their goats under the guise of war provisions. Pastry asserts that the Baron shouldn't complain if they buy all his materials and livestock. Sheets finds this hard to believe. Pastry argues that Mordelen contributed significantly to the campaign, so they should seize the opportunity to take what they can. Casserole arrives, announcing that negotiations are complete and asking Pastry to assist with transporting the goods back. Casserole mentions that it will take considerable time even with his teleportation abilities. Sheets observes the extent of Casserole's negotiations and finds it excessive. Casserole explains that the horses were initially intended for Baron Lunsford, but he insisted on buying them instead. The Baron paid a substantial advance, and having a low-ranked noble swoop in and claim them must be frustrating for him. The scene transitions to Pastry showing a juicer to Mark and Looney. He demonstrates how it can extract juice from fruits by turning the device. Afterward, Pastry is called by his mother and sister, who explain that he needs to accompany Casserole to the capital. Licorice mentions that her father invited her and Petra to the royal capital for the summer, but she's having trouble deciding what to wear and wants everyone's opinions. Agnes adds that they gathered for this reason, but the clothing they have in their house doesn't seem suitable. Josephine mentions the need to prepare a new outfit, but there isn't a dressmaker in their fief who can create attire befitting a noble woman. Agnes explains that they would like Pastry to order a dress for Licorice from the capital. Pastry hesitates, suggesting that his father should handle this task on his own. Agnes reveals that Licorice doesn't want any man to know her dress size except Pastry, as he is her fiancé. This admission embarrasses both of them, but Pastry eventually agrees to order the dress. Pastry travels to the capital to place the dress order. He provides the dressmaker with Licorice's measurements and shows him a picture of Licorice to help him create a dress tailored to her likeness. The scene then shifts to Pastry working on a baking project. Licorice inquires about what he's baking, and Pastry replies that it's something Licorice has been eagerly anticipating. Licorice is enticed by the delightful aroma. Pastry reveals that he's baking a cheesecake made from goat's milk, and Licorice is impressed by the consistently amazing sweets Pastry creates. Later, Pastry prepares another dessert, piquing Licorice's curiosity about what he's making this time. Pastry leans closer and whispers the dessert's name into her ear. Licorice finds it enticing and can't wait to taste it. Pastry assures her that her expectations can be high. With this, our episode ends here. If you like it, then please subscribe to our channel.